Welcome to Bungalows for Bachelors. Braced wall lines, not to be confused with braced wall panels. They are two different things, and I will use those words a lot when I'm going through this design phase. I'll talk about braced wall panels in the next video, but braced wall lines are going to be lines that represent which walls on my plan I intend to specifically use to install braced wall panels to resist wind or seismic loads. So basically, the braced wall lines are going to go on walls or next to walls, very close to walls, that I intend to claim as my wind force resisting system walls. So how would I do that here? Well, generally, you're going to start with all the outside walls of the house because that's where you're going to be putting your wood sheathing, and that is one of the strongest methods of resisting things. You get the most accomplished, so you might as well use it. So I'm going to draw. So the way we do this design is we do it in two directions, right? Because the wind can blow from the top down, or it can blow from the left to the right, or the right to the left, whatever. But we're concerned with the two directions separately from each other. They don't really affect each other. So if I consider the top-down design first, if my wind is blowing, change my color here. If my wind is blowing from this direction, then I know that the walls that I am using to resist the wind load are going to be, screw that, save default. The walls that are going to resist that wind load, well, I definitely want this one over here on the left. Definitely want that guy because this is just a plain open wall. There's no doors and windows to get in the way of anything. So lots of sheathing there, good strength. And then I'm going to want this wall. Well, that might as well kind of claim this wall line. So let's just do this. So if I do that wall line there, and then, so we're in a weird scenario here because this is an addition project, but we're going to kind of pretend this is houses, not here. We're going to pretend this is the outside. So we use another one right here, right? So that's the other wall of our structure. So this that basically means that those wall sections, and if I wanted, I could do more. I could claim this one, and I could claim this one. And here's basically how this process works. The more walls I have, the less strength I need in each wall. Now, I happen to know I have all of these walls. I'm going to build this whole thing. But what I'm worried about here is I'm worried about being able to prove that I can hold a certain strength. So the general good idea is use as minimal walls as possible as your braced wall lines, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to, I mean, if I can prove that I can do it with this wall over here and this wall over here and this wall over here, then I don't really care what I do in the middle of the house. I can add leaden braces and stuff in these walls, and I know making it better, but that's not what I'm worried about. I want to know at least if I do these things, I'm good to go. And then I can make it stronger if I want to later on. But the whole point of this is proving that something works. And frankly, the less walls you include, the less work you do while you're designing it. So that's the basic premise. Now, I've got these walls now. Let's say I'm going to use these. So what I need to do is I need to know how far apart these walls are, because that's going to tell me some of my things and to do. The first rule is that you're not allowed to put these more than 60 feet apart. That's just one of the rules. So let's check with some dimensions here. Check the length from here to here, approximately. Quarter inches, 1 foot scale. 49 feet, 8.5. So I'm good. But I need to keep that, I need to keep this dimension here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I need to keep this dimension here and reference it while I'm doing this. So you're gonna want to also draw these dimensions in, because these are very, very important for understanding. And if this was dimensioned well, you would already have that dimension written out on the plan. But that was apparently missed. So that's that one. And then let me add one more here for this spot to that spot. And I'll drag that up so it's even with that. 19 feet, 3.5. Okay, so I need those numbers. Now, the way we are going to do this is we are going to use these distances later on with tables in the International Residential Code. We're going to read through some tables and figure out some lengths of things that we need. And then we're going to check to see if we have the length of that in our wall, right? So I happen to know this wall is completely sheathed, so I've got all day long I can do this. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to, well, we're going to lay out the wall lines in the other direction, and then we're going to do that in the next video. So I'm going to, so now if the wind is blowing from the left side, I would be concerned with using that wall, and I would be using this wall. Now, plainly looking at this, if I've got the wind blowing from this side, I have much less wall to work with, right? I've got these short pieces. But if the wind's blowing from left to right, I have all of this wall and all of this wall to work with. So the general idea here is when you've got long, skinny buildings, it becomes a real pain to prove and design for the skinny parts, because if the wind's blowing on the big face, it's going to cause a lot of load and it's going to be very hard to support it properly in such short little distances. So we'll see what our results are for here, but that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to solve it with just these, and those are my braced wall lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also add my dimension from here. Well, I've already got it because it's on the plan, but I'm going to make it red so it can see it. Okay. 21 feet, 11.5. I was close enough. All right. So I've got that dimension, and I also want a label. So you can do this however you like, but I'm going to get in line with here. Braced wall line A. Oh, the formatting is kind of ugly, but I'm going to move on. Get in line here. Braced wall line B. And braced wall line C. Okay. Now, when I go from the other direction, I'm going to use numbers so I don't confuse myself between the two because they are not related to each other. Braced wall line 1. And, believe it or not, braced wall line 2. Okay. So I'm going to get those labeled. So I've got all my braced wall lines taken care of. This is what I'm going to use. This is how I'm going to design the house. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see if we can accomplish our goal. Okay. Next video.